All right, what is up, y'all? Will here with Schedulefly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast, brought to you by us here at Schedulefly. Super simple, web-based restaurant and employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service. And when we say legendary, if you're watching this right now, you can see this. If you're listening, they're looking at a flip phone. This flip phone right here, which is what I operate with. The number is right on our website, schedulefly.com. You can find it easily. It's on like 3 pages. We take great care of our customers. It's important to us. It's extremely important to us. So simple software, legendary customer service, low price point. We've never raised our pricing in 18 years in business. And there are somewhere north of 200,000 restaurants right now in this country that are on pencil and paper or Excel or Google Sheets for scheduling. If it's working for you, cool. If you're having challenges, particularly with the staff these days that just want their schedule on an app on their phone and want to be able to click a button and offer up a shift, and somebody can click a button to pick it up and a manager can approve or to all that stuff, all those phone calls, all the stuff that comes along without having a scheduling software, we can make life easier for you, help you project your labor better, and just have a more streamlined, efficient process, save time so you are focused on your team and your guests, not the schedule. 30-day free trial, schedulefly.com. Call me, happy to talk. My flip phone gets text, so you can do that too. Also, frankly, look, we have learned over the last couple of years that, there are a lot of restaurants. In fact, Keith and I will talk about this today a little bit. There are a lot of restaurants that are paying a whole lot of money for other scheduling software, and they're not using all these things that they were sold on, bells, whistles, integrations, all this kind of stuff. So look at what you're paying for your scheduling software. Go check out our prices, and there's a distinct chance we're less than half what you're paying, maybe even a third of what you're paying. We'd love to earn your business too. So schedulefly.com. All right, enough about Schedulefly. We are here in studio at Everybody Studios. These are the best opportunities to have our guest in person, mic'd up, filmed, and everything else. And this is a really personally rewarding and special episode for me because Keith Santangelo flew down here from New Jersey. And Keith was one of the earliest Schedulefly customers, was a Schedulefly customer for many years, has been on this podcast, I think twice, was actually one of the 20 owners that we picked for our second Restaurant Owners Uncorked book. We did our first one in 2010, second one in 2017. We would take the top 20 stories that we had told over a period of years and put those in these books. And Keith was in the second book. We forgot to pull this up, but Keith had one of the greatest quotes I've ever heard about independent restaurants. And it was so heartfelt and so authentic and so real that literally was the back cover of that second book. We put nothing on there other than his quote. And to this day, it still always resonates with me what you said all those years ago. I mean, it's been almost 10 years since we did that. So, and Keith is now with an awesome company called AccessWave. So we're going to talk about a lot of things today, Keith. But first, thank you for being here. And we've had a great afternoon hanging out. You took the time to come all the way down here. So truly appreciate that.
Well, thank you very, very much for the opportunity. And I'm very happy to come down and do it with you. And I mean, we go way back at this point.
Yeah.
We're getting to be the old heads, as they call us. But I think we adopted Schedulefly, and I can't even pretend to remember how we found each other. But I knew it was good when I found it, and I think I adopted it in 2008. So,
yeah, Planet Hollywood.
That's right, Planet Hollywood.
One of our earlier customers.
I know.
We probably had like 100 customers then.
Yeah. I'm so glad to be one of the early ones. And honestly, we have maintained, my career has been through a lot of iterations since then. Yours has stayed the same, thankfully, for the most part. But, we have always stayed in touch no matter what. And I really am so grateful for our friendship, and thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, as you know, because I know you listen to this podcast, and we've told this story before, but it's been so long. So just talk about, you have a clear love and passion for hospitality, particularly the world of independence. What ignited it? When and where did this all get started?
Yeah, I feel like before I jump into that, I feel like the Hair Club for Men commercial. I'm not just the president. I'm a member. So I'm not just a guest on this podcast. I'm an avid listener, and I really enjoy it. So thanks again.
Yeah,
and so clear passion is right. I was born into it. I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I was born into a family of small business owners. My grandfather was an Italian guy who got his first job delivering meat, and then figured out how to parlay that and some really wicked fishing skills into his first meat market that he owned. And then he set up my dad and my uncles and many others with their own little grocery stores, community grocery stores and meat markets and butchers. And I grew up working there. My first job was my dad taking me to the meat market.
Yeah.
And so obviously a significant love for small business owners and family-owned businesses and hospitality. I learned pretty quickly I wasn't a skilled butcher, but I did enjoy working in the front.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed working the register, and I enjoyed talking to everybody, and that's how it started. So,
I mean, you have it in your DNA.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's a food love there. I think the culture also helps, and you may remember this from talking about it before, but I'm lucky enough to be born in the great state of Louisiana and half Cajun and half Italian. So the cultures were food-based, family-based social events all the time, no matter what side of the family I was on. And I think that just sort of instilled that love for togetherness, coming around food and beverage and holidays, and those things just shaped me forever. And so that's where the love was born.
I'm going to take us on a slight tangent here, but I'll tee this up for our listeners. So Keith and I have been hanging out for a few hours. By the way, Tyler Koch, if you're listening, we ate at Paiza today.
Oh, yes.
What did you think about that pizza?
Unreal. I was
a guy who's had a lot of New York pizza.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
I love the concept, and first impression was, holy hell, this is the biggest slice of pizza I've ever seen.
It's so big.
That was awesome. Yeah. And then it was delicious. I had the sausage, and it was cool to learn, as I just explained my background, that right up on the menu, it talked about that sausage coming from a local butcher shop in town. And I didn't bring it up then, but you probably understand more now. I thought that's really cool. Mm-hmm. I love that it's sourced like that, and it was delicious. And didn't meet Tyler yet, but way to go, man. Awesome.
Yeah. Simple menu.
Loved it.
Great execution, fast service, big.
Great staff, by the way.
Great staff.
Take a moment to give a shout out to those two young ladies that were there, because they have no idea who we are. Yeah. But they were genuinely warm and welcoming and cared. They came back to ask me, "Is it your first time here? And what'd you think of the pizza?" And they were awesome. So
they're implementing. I told you, they're implementing Schedulefly, and I have my hat on, and she didn't say anything, which means that, Tyler just signed up yesterday, so she doesn't have a clue.
That's right.
Like normally, if I go into a restaurant that's a Schedulefly customer and they see my hat, they're like, "Oh, Schedulefly," and then so then you always like, are they being really nice because they know I'm but they had no idea.
No idea.
And they were awesome.
They were great.
They were great. So
you have to assume everyone that walks in there is getting the
that
same sort of warm welcome, and that was really cool.
From Adam. Yep, that's right, and that's an important part of this. So we go there, and then we've been hanging out, and we've been talking about, the importance of independent restaurants and what they mean in our communities and the mom and pops, and then I think about that, and then I couch that with us sitting here talking about Seinfeld on the way over here, and you told me you watch it all the time. So I want to hear, because I thought I watched it a lot because I rewatched the whole series every January to March. But you're even more dialed in, which I have huge respect for. So
I don't know if dialed in is what you would call it, but yeah.
So, but I was sitting here thinking, as I was thinking about that conversation and that show, and I think about what's their home away from home. It's the diner, right? Like they're there all the time. This independent Monk's diner, and they go there and they have coffee or they eat a sandwich and they just talk. Like these four people that two live in one, but they live in, but they're friends. But where do they go to congregate?
All the time.
They go to this local mom and pop diner right there in Manhattan. Yeah, and that's where so much of that show takes place, and so many of the conversations in that show. And it's not that that's why you watch, but I started thinking, as we think about and we talked a lot about the digital age we live in and the importance of being with people in person. And, those are the interactions that we crave and we seek. And, this is what independent restaurants and these unique places in our communities are so good at like offering to us, because we kind of feel like they're ours, right? Because they're only in our, in our towns or our cities or whatever. And it's like where we want to go and have dialogue. But I have to, as a big Seinfeld fan, so reveal to me, you told me you were watching it often. So what's your Seinfeld story?
Anyone who knows me well is cringing and making fun of me, and that's okay. But it's, as I said to you before, it's an embarrassing level of fandom. Any chance maybe Jerry Seinfeld's listening to your podcast, I'll say thank you, Jerry. No, I grew up in Louisiana, as I said, and my age just sort of coincides with being in middle school and high school when Seinfeld was on.
Mm-hmm.
And for a very weird reason, I started to watch it every night. I don't know how weird it is, but it came on every night at 11 Eastern, 10 Central. And 10 Central was my bedtime. So I'd have to go to bed at 10, and I would just flip the TV on in my room, and Seinfeld was on. And so I started to put that on every night at 10 p.m. when I laid down in middle school. And I'm old. I'm 43 now. I've still watched it almost every night when I lay in bed. Now I just own all 9 seasons. I started at season 1, episode 1. I put it on every night when I go to bed, and then I start over.
Oh,
and so it's
awesome.
Embarrassing, but it's
It's
kind of
not
like
embarrassing.
It's like a lullaby. You know how people have bedtime
dude,
routines?
I get it, man.
Yeah, I put it on
get
and
that.
it goes right out.
I totally get that. My 16-year-old son, it really likes Modern Family.
Oh, me too.
But he watches it. A lot of it's just to have. It's almost like a comfort show. Like he doesn't like. It's just on. Like he just, and you just it's material that you're gonna like. You never get tired of it.
You can't put on something that you've never seen because you get intrigued and then you don't go to sleep. And I'm like, boy, I need to go to sleep, right? We all.
Yeah, if you start dozing off, you're not worried because you know the lines. And that's awesome.
I can tell you exactly where we left off the next day. But it's funny that you said that because my 14-year-old Mason also started watching Modern Family and asked me to watch it with him. And I had not watched it on its first runs.
Yeah.
And in fairness, it's been a busy 20-something years. I have 4 kids. I got married almost 20 years ago. So I didn't watch a lot of shows on first run. But Mason is 14 now, and he started asking me to watch this show. And we watched a good bit of it. It was a great show.
Yeah.
So I support that message.
Yes.
I love that show.
Absolutely. So you were at Planet Hollywood for a while, and then when you were in the book, you were at Bourbon Street Bar and Grill.
That's right. Yeah, featured. It was a restaurant owners podcast. I was lucky enough to own Bourbon Street Bar and Grill again, which is something that was very near and dear to my heart. I mentioned. Well, I guess we need to give people some background. Bourbon Street was in New York City.
Yeah.
I moved to New York City in 2001. Where all my Seinfeld dreams came true. It wasn't just a show anymore. Now I understood the jokes. And no, I came to New York on a high school trip. I was in music theater. I'm not going to go too far back. I'll bore everyone. But I was a football player. My best friend's, one of the teammates on my football team, his mom was the music theater teacher at school. So one day hanging out at his house, messing around, singing and joking around, she says, I need you to come to music theater class. So I'll fast forward that story. I got very close to her. I fell in love with music theater and performing arts as well as the sports that I was doing, and came to New York on a school trip, completely fell in love and immediately started figuring out how I could get to New York and pursue the rest of my life and career. So I came to New York City in 2001, and with the exception of a short stint of going back home to take care of my dad from when he got sick a long time ago, I've been here for 24 years now in the Northeast, let's say. So I live in New Jersey now with my family, but I spent the next 20 plus years in the restaurant and hospitality business in New York City, and was lucky enough to own 2 of my own restaurants in Hell's Kitchen with partners. But Bourbon Street was my baby and my labor of love, and it was a great 10 years. And the first time I was on the podcast, Bourbon Street Bar and Grill, was what you had me on for. I was the owner of Bourbon Street Bar and Grill, and then I also opened Brazen Tavern a little bit later, which is still there on 44th and 9th, and a great place. but sold both of them in 2018 back to my partners just because we were going different directions. But I'll leave it there for now. I don't want to go too long, but that's when we first talked. And
Well,
I had brought Schedulefly from Planet Hollywood to Bourbon Street. And then, of course, our relationship continued for a long time. I had it the whole time I was at Bourbon Street.
Yeah.
So
is Bourbon Street still there, or do they?
So my partners are awesome. Pete and Frank, they're still there, running a lot of restaurants in Manhattan, but they're Irish, and that's not a bad thing. But what I mean is, the New Orleans thing was totally my baby. So when I sold it back to them, they, in fairness, they said, "Hey, we don't know a whole lot about being Cajun or being from New Orleans. We're probably going to change it." And I said, "It breaks my heart, but I get it. And I'd rather it not be. If you don't know what you're doing in that space, if you're not authentically from there, it's a very hard cuisine and culture to pull off." So I understood. And it's not there anymore. Brazen Tavern is still intact. That was one that we sold. That the new we sold that completely, and the new owners have kept that, and it's still there. So I'm happy to see it there. After all these years.
You sold your piece to your partners at Bourbon Street.
Bourbon Street, and then we sold Brazen Tavern.
And y'all are all the same partners. You
Yes.
sold completely.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did that in 2018.
Why did y'all sell that one?
That was my first attempt at completely moving out of New York City. So it was a hard decision for me, but at the time, my family and I had settled down in New Jersey, around the Jersey Shore. And the commute was a lot, and I was away a lot. So it was hard because they were labors of love and I loved them. But it was my first attempt to say to my family, "Hey, I'll stop commuting." Now, little did I know I would get an opportunity a few years later that would bring me back. But that was my first attempt. And, who knows what would have happened. But when I look back, it was somewhat serendipitous for me because I did not know COVID was looming, but it was. And so, maybe just a little bit of luck, if that's what you want to call it, that I happened to decide to sell at that point, and COVID was only a year and a half away. So
when you sell a restaurant like that, how do you decide? So you've got partners, y'all all agree.
Mhm.
Like we'll take Bourbon Street, you sold your shares or whatever, your equity, I guess. And then the other one you sell, is that normally done through, is it a seller note? Is it cash? I guess it can vary, but just however you want to talk about that or how much detail you want to put into that, it's fine. Like if I'm selling a restaurant, typically how am I going to value it and how am I going to get paid?
Yeah, there's some typical answers, and there's some way it typically works. I don't know if these two cases will be good use cases because these are a little unique. On the one hand, I sold it back to my partner, so that was fairly straightforward.
Right.
Because, I had what I had bought into it for and what we thought it was worth, and that was fairly straightforward. They just took that back and gave me what I thought, was fair, and that was very easy. I think most of them don't work like that, right?
Right.
In the Brazen Tavern aspect, it was also a concept that was outside of their core concepts, mostly Irish pubs. And so when I sold Bourbon Street, I think they just felt like it was also a good idea to totally sell that. They wanted to focus on what they do, I think. And that was a little bit different, a little bit more along those lines of, hey, here's what's left on the lease. Here's what we're currently making. Here's what we sank into it. Here's the price tag that we're hoping for. Both of those aren't, I think, perfect use cases because in both cases we were selling them to people we knew.
Okay.
And so it was a very easy sort of transaction, right?
Yeah.
Even Brazen was friends of ours that, hey, do you want to take the space? We want to focus on this. So I don't think those are great use cases, but in a more typical situation, you're going to value the restaurant based on what is usually 3 to 5x of EBITDA. And then sort of, again, is it owned? Is there a lease? How much time is left on that lease? And then sort of just come to an agreement on a number. There's a lot of other factors. I'll never pretend it doesn't get messy. Like in New Jersey, you have the liquor license factor as well. Because in New Jersey, the liquor license is an asset that has to be purchased. You can't just get them. There's a limited number of them.
Oh, so you have to. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So that's an asset that would be additionally considered.
If you own a liquor license in Jersey, that is a very valuable commodity.
That's right. And I won't send us down the New Jersey politic rabbit hole of liquor license, but they're currently, going down a little bit. It's a hotbed button time and time again in New Jersey.
Okay.
Because of the blue laws and the way that the liquor license works. But yeah, they fluctuate the way any asset would on the market, right? Depending on supply and demand and how many liquor licenses there are. So, yeah, I think right now you'd probably look at anywhere from $200,000 to $800,000 for a liquor license in New Jersey.
Liquor license?
Yes. True story. Now in New York,
can't even imagine. Really?
Yeah, New York, it's $5,000 and an application fee, right? So it's a very different environment.
Okay. But liquor and alcohol consumption is going down, generally speaking.
Correct.
So those prices, I would think, are going down, generally speaking.
Okay. And those numbers I just mentioned are lower than they were 2 years ago and 5 years ago, in my opinion.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Morristown, for instance, is pretty famous for their liquor license prices. Morristown, New Jersey is a really great restaurant and bar town, North Jersey. And for a very long time, those liquor licenses were north of $1 million. And that was a pretty well-known fact. So,
been there for a wedding. Beautiful town.
It is.
Beautiful
yes,
town.
It is. Yeah, really cool town in North Jersey.
That's where you see why Jersey's called the Garden State. I mean, when we drove up through there, it was beautiful.
Yeah,
absolutely beautiful.
I love Jersey. I really do. My wife's from New York. I'm from Louisiana. Jersey was our compromise. And we moved there in 2011. And where I live, I happen to adore. I think it's really beautiful. It's a great place to raise a family. There's a lot of farms.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people come to New York and see the turnpike of New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks
right,
like
yeah.
the end of Earth.
Yeah. That's what that's what the image you have, right?
Of course.
Newark and the sure. Yeah,
and it doesn't look like the greatest place on earth, but the rest of the state, there are many parts of the state that are really awesome.
Yeah.
I mean that.
I was blown away. Absolutely beautiful. We went over to Princeton and stuff too. And
yeah, for sure.
So, okay. So that was 18. And what did you do right immediately after that?
So immediately after that, I got the opportunity to meet the CEO of Jose Tejas, which was my favorite restaurant for a long time. So my wife is from Staten Island. And for people who are up there, you know that Staten Island really likes to go across the bridge and go to this place called Jose Tejas. And Jose Tejas is part of a bigger group. There were 6 restaurants, Border Café and Jose Tejas. That is fusion of Tex-Mex and Cajun cuisine, and it's really good. And they're a really well-run business, really well-run organization, single owner. The owner's actually down here in Virginia. But at the time, someone introduced me to the CEO of Jose Tejas, and we hit it off. I talked about how much I loved the restaurant and how I'm from Louisiana and how just impressed I was with the menu. And this is all authentic, from scratch recipes that I was just blown away by because it was hard to find up here.
Yeah.
Great gumbo, great jambalaya, just really cool menu. And he said, well, we're looking for kind of a VP of Ops, COO. I'd love to keep talking to you about that. And so that's what I ended up going to next. And I spent 4 great years there. 6 restaurants, 3 in Boston, 2 in Jersey, 1 in Delaware. And I learned a lot there. I learned as much there as I learned anywhere, even after having been an owner, because they operated on a different level. So, going there and spending that time there was really rewarding for me. It was a good time, too, to be home more. It was a good time to sort of strategically be there because COVID happened, and I was able to steward them through COVID with the rest of the team.
So you started in like 18, 19?
I started there in 18.
Okay.
And then obviously COVID happened in 20, around St. Patrick's Day. I just remember it being tied to St. Patrick's Day. So I know it's right around there. So March of 2020, I think we shut down.
Yeah.
And then we were shut down for a few weeks. And I mean, everyone remembers. You don't need me to recap it. We didn't know what the hell was going on. And we thought it was airborne and everybody was terrified and we were cleaning everything. And after a few weeks, so this was a particular challenge because if, Jose Tejas and Border Café is 100% scratch kitchen and they did 0 to go. They didn't have a great to go program. They did no to go. The only to go that existed was if you had leftovers, we would box them up for you. And so when COVID happened, I mean, we started from scratch, from 0, going, okay, well, a couple weeks went by and let's sit at a table and figure out how we move forward. And without boring everyone with the details, we pulled it together. We started to do home meals and pick up and all these different things. And happy to say very successfully coasted through that and ended up getting tents. I don't know if, how everyone else was, but in Jersey and Delaware and Boston, we could get tents and put them outside and have diners back. But yeah, actually we're able to really successfully get through that. And it was a challenging time, but there's always, if you look back, there's a little bit of a silver lining. I actually remember the time with the team very fondly, people sitting around figuring out how to get through this together. There's, it was obviously a dark time in general, but I do have some valued memories from that time of trying to figure out how to navigate that with the team and the owner and the CEO. So,
well, it goes to the creativity and resiliency that, restaurant people throughout time have constantly risen to the occasion when things like this happen and figure these things out.
Yeah.
I mean, economic 2008, 2009, and there's just it's one thing after another. There's always something going on that, right now it's, consumer spending is getting, a little challenging, and meanwhile costs are going up everywhere. But the industry, as we've talked about on this podcast, people help each other, and it's a rising tide lifts all boats mentality, and it's a very creative and iterative and thoughtful industry where people just go, well, okay, we have this, like, let's get around a table and figure it out.
And we're living in an interesting time of resilience, right? Because I think people now, whenever, there's headwinds, I for the restaurant industry or for any business, and I look up and go, well, we made it through COVID, so
right.
we can make it through anything. Let's get together and figure it out, So, I think it was a dark time, but it really did build resilience. I think about it now. When other challenges come up now, I think, well, yeah, they're challenges, they're headwinds. Things obviously are difficult in the restaurant industry, is tiny margins, and you just pointed out there's some economic factors that aren't boding too well. But again, I think, hey, we'll make it because we made it through COVID, so we can make it through anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you were there
18 to 22. Yeah.
And you went to Serafina.
And that's right. And so the previously alluded to opportunity that would bring me back to New York City, even though I thought I was not going to go back to New York City, was the incredible opportunity to go be COO for Serafina Restaurant Group, which is just a legendary restaurant group. I work directly for the owners and founders, Fabio and Vittorio. But I got that opportunity, and it was just too good to pass up. I adore Serafina. They've been there since 1995 on the Upper East Side. They were up to 22 locations when I took over under their corporate umbrella, and then they had another 20-plus licensees around the globe.
Oh, wow.
That we had licensed out. So, yeah, 22 locations, 800 employees, over 100 million annual revenue. Just an incredible opportunity for a brand that was a mainstay that I really admired, and working directly for the founders was an opportunity I didn't want to pass up.
So different concepts within that, or is it all?
Mostly Serafina's, but they had branched out a little bit. Some went great, some did not. But Serafina and Brasserie Cognac are the two that remain, as well as Farinella Pizza. So those are the three concepts that they run right now in New York City. They tried to do coming out of COVID, attempted to pivot and do a little bit of a fast casual version of Serafina, and understood the thought process, but it did not ultimately work out. But I think they're back now to focus on the traditional Serafina. The full service upscale Italian brand is an incredible experience. And it's proven that by being successful all across the globe. There's 3 in Tokyo, they're in the Mideast, they're in Italy, they're in Puerto Rico. So it's
in Italy.
Yeah, 3 in Italy now.
What is? Tell me, okay,
which is rare, right? Like,
well, I was gonna say, like, an American company going over to Italy and doing Italian.
Yeah, I think I don't think that works unless the owners are actually Italian. And they are. So, right, like they've always maintained half, some time in Italy and some time in America. They are Italian guys.
Yeah.
Italian's their first language. That's where they're from. They came to America later and started Serafina. So I think that only works because they are actually Italian. They really understand the Italian landscape and the culture. And so they were able to help that transfer. I don't recommend it for like normal, American born Italian brands to try to go into Italy. It's just, I think it's just ill-advised, but
Yeah.
Serafina, those guys are in fact Italian. Fabio and Vittorio know what they're doing. And so, yeah, they've successfully opened 3 in Italy in the last few years.
And and then you have they license. Talk about so licensing versus franchising. Why license versus franchising? What are the differences?
So I think franchising is a lot more complex,
Yeah.
right? You have the FDDs, which you know about. I've heard you talk about them before. Franchise disclosure documents and various laws, state to state, and all the regulations that come along with that are pretty cumbersome.
Yeah.
And if that's not the way you want to grow, it could be difficult. There's also, you have to carefully navigate because it can be, if you are licensing somewhere where you should be franchising. In other words, if you're running it like a franchise but trying to structure it like a license, you can find yourself in some legal hot water. So you have to make sure you're following the rules of licensing, and internationally licensing is usually a popular option because it's very hard to control the sort of things in a franchise group unless you're bigger. Obviously, some of these very big companies can do it. But when you start talking about controlling supply chain and many of the things that franchisors want to control internationally, it can get very difficult. So licensing is an option that was much more sensible for us at Serafina internationally.
So these are international licenses, not okay. Got it. Okay, got it. Gosh, when we started Schedulefly, there was very little restaurant tech. Now there's a massive amount. I mean, like an overwhelming amount of restaurant tech. And there are a lot of restaurant tech tools that, and I think you put this really well. When a salesperson sits down and demos it and shows you what it can do, it looks pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's a very compelling pitch.
That's right.
It's like, yeah, we need that.
Yeah.
But there's a gap. And Amanda talked to, I don't remember if Amanda from Vicious Biscuit if we talked about it on the episode. I think we did. And then we talked about it at dinner, but there's this gap between what restaurant tech can do, what it's possible of, how it's sold, and then how it actually winds up being used.
That's right.
And that's a significant and frequent challenge.
Yes.
Which is we're paying, in this case, we talked about one of our like you're paying a lot of money for a lot of features.
Yeah. And integrations and abilities that again, salesperson, yes, we need that. Yeah, I think it's about theoretical versus actual,
what's actually
right? Yeah, so theoretically,
happening.
When you see what some of this tech can do, it's awesome, right? You're like, holy crap, this is awesome.
Yeah.
In the circumstance I was sharing with you earlier, I have this particular organization, a large team, and as an organization, we decide to invest in some pretty big tech because, again, it's certainly theoretically awesome. We would love to be able to do that. But you look up many months later, and there's been, we have a real challenge with adoption, right? Yeah. And so as the CFO at the time, I call people in and say, we aren't using this. Why aren't we using this, X and Y and Z? And they go, oh, the managers don't want to use it. The employees don't want to use it. They don't like it. And without going too deep down that rabbit hole, at some point you say, well, if we're not using 80% of the functionality, why are we paying 100% of the expense, right? Yeah. So the challenge for me, and I'm not here to sit here and talk to you and say that was a bad option or not a bad option. I'm simply saying, as I was before when we were talking, is if only 20% of the functionality fits your organization and is adopted and used, then take a hard look at what you're paying and what you're paying for, because, a lot of times tech is about fit. Unless you're in a really well-run organization, well-oiled machine that has, great training, great implementation, and is going to get a big team on board with using and adopting. And to me, that was always a big challenge. I've had a lot of frustrations with that in my career as a leader or as an executive, is adopting things and then getting adoption from the rest of the team and function usage from the rest of the team. So, hey, we're paying for, all this ability that this can do, and we're only using 20% of its capacity. Yeah. So, yeah, we were talking about that before.
I just thought of this. It's interesting because I don't want to say who yet, but we got this, we got this big deal with this. I'm still kind of blown away, but with this chain that has over 150 locations. And, it just hit me. Like, we've been doing these rollout calls, and they were like, we'll invite you in case you can attend. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, well, we don't want to overwhelm. Like, we have some subject matter experts that have been using it during the pilot that have raised their hands and said, and we want them to have an opportunity to step up. And I'm like, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really awesome. But I mean, you're paying, like, I'm going to be on thbut like, I mean, I'm going to tell people to call my cell phone if they need to.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we do. And they're like, okay, I mean, you don't, but I guess it just kind of clicked for me that I think so many, even a chain that big, they're used to not having help with, like, they buy this tech and it's like, best of luck.
Well, first of all, it sounds like they're doing it the right way, right? Because you need to take ownership of it inside your organization and make sure you have people that know how to use it, know how to implement, know how to train, take ownership. But I would also say, so it sounds like they're doing the right thing. I would also say take all the support you could get. I would take as much from
I just feel like you should
Schedulefly as they wanted
expect
to
that.
give
Like,
too, Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like people are getting used to just not having, that's a weird
well,
thing to me.
you and I talked about it earlier, right? And I said, I don't know if this is great advice or a great answer, but I said if I had like a tech or software solution for the restaurant industry, I would put a significant amount of money into an implementation team that literally held the hands of the restaurants or businesses that were purchasing this, because that's the key to success.
Yeah.
If you could get them on board and get them using it, and then they see all the positive benefits, but it's really just adoption. So yeah, I think you're doing the right thing. Sounds like they're doing the right thing. I'd say put as many people on it as willing to be on it until you've got the full adoption and buy-in.
Well, it's funny because I was telling you about Mike earlier, and he's like really taking the reins internally for us and like with getting this done. He used to have a payroll business. He's like, Will, this is like implementation, like, like this is where we crush it. Like we got to just nail it. And I have to say, he's done an incredible job with this because we never rolled this out to the but I do think it's, you do, without naming names, but you do hear of companies that have these solutions that are shiny and flashy and all this kind of stuff. And then people get sold on it and they invest into it. And then then they're having to hire somebody else to or pay a consultant just to get it put in. And I don't know, man. It's a weird thing to me because I feel like I look at restaurants as this group of people that are inherently just a giving group. That's what hospitality is. It's like, it's like how many posted the Hall's Chop House episode, we talked about service over self a lot. And, so I've always found it's why we focus so much on service. Like I feel like if you're serving the restaurant industry, I feel like you're obligated. You kind of owe it to the people in this industry to give them the same service that they give to you and to all their customers. But it's a weird thing that
there's a
lot of people don't.
There's a gap there a lot of times, right? And people who we talked about my entry into the industry, I was sort of born into it, and I think a lot of people who are in this industry, it's service mindedness sort of takes over for everything that you do.
Yeah.
And, I think Will Guidera is a good example. I don't know if you know Will Guidera, but unreasonable, hospitality. And he's doing a great job of taking that hospitality mentality to many different kinds of companies, right? But I do think that's often missing. And frankly, it's what has inspired me and driven me a lot with AccessWave, with what I do now, to be honest with you, is to sort of bring that mentality to a different sort of solution and sector. So, serving the hospitality industry from the outside, or restaurants, with that same sense of service mindedness and unparalleled hospitality is something that I think is a winning formula for any company that's selling into the industry, right?
You got us where I was going with all that, which is access.
It's almost like we're in tune.
We are, dude. We are. And by the way, just as an aside, Will would love to have you on this podcast if you're listening, man. I do know, I have communicated with him, but that guy's, my buddy, I love this story. He calls me up about a month ago, and he works at a bank. His wife works for a doctor, and he says, Brawley, have you ever read the book Unreasonable Hospitality? And I'm like, dude, it's like the staple of our, man. I'm like, why? He goes, well, Katie's reading it. My wife, his wife's, she's reading it, and all the stuff she's been telling me that he's talking about seems like the stuff that like you always talk about, that you're trying to do or whatever. And I was like, wait, Katie's reading it? Why is she reading it? Oh, their whole office is reading it.
Yeah.
Oh, a doctor's office? Oh yeah. And then I start here, and then I'm here, and like it's like everywhere now. And he's speaking at like, I guess like Fortune 500 companies and stuff. Yeah. And it's so awesome. And it's why I would love to have Will on here, because that is a lost art. That mentality is not ubiquitous in our culture anymore. It used to be. But like the things, I mean, I'm a little older than you, but like we're fairly close, and our generation grew up with like just basic stuff, looking people in the eye, shaking hands, being present, being intentional, caring about the person, that you're like genuinely caring, and just having that service minded of like making, like the young ladies did at Pisa today. Yeah. We're just like, you feel welcome. Yeah. Like you feel like they're actually happy that we're here, and they may be having a bad day, but they're making us feel really good. And there's not many businesses that you interact with now where that is the outcome. Or not just in hospitality, like just in general. Yeah. But then it's hard in hospitality. And so I feel like when you kind of nail the basics and execute on the basics of what we would say is like common sense, but nowadays is maybe not as common. But when you do that, whatever industry you're in, which is why this book works in healthcare or anything else, people notice, like they're blown away, and then they want to be your customer again because it's not that common.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I think what he's done such a great job of is finding such an obvious differentiator for any business that's so poorly adopted.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love to get his email, and I love to read the stories that he picks out, whether it's on an airline or whether it's in a car dealership. I really enjoy reading his emails. So if you get him on and you decide to do one of those new roundtable formats, count me in.
Look, we can do 4 people here in the studio.
We've got 5 chairs in here. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. Hey man, like this would be part of that. I agree. Yeah, very cool. I mean, Setting the Table was sort of like the book that with his mentor Danny Meyer, and just still phenomenal. And that was the book that everybody would always talk about 10, 15 years ago. That book. I mean, it's been mentioned on this podcast a lot of times, and now I hear Unreasonable Hospitality so much, and it's well earned, but it's
I think he held the first conference this year too. I think he had his first Unreasonable Hospitality conference this year.
I did see something about that. Yeah. Good for him. And I will tell you this. So interestingly enough, I told you my buddy Robbie that owns the studio, he's not here today. Robbie and Everybody Studios here is the studio that produces Steve Palmer's. Do you know Steve Palmer?
I don't think I do.
Steve owns Indigo Road Hospitality out of Charleston. Freaking phenomenal restaurants. They're all over the Southeast now. Restaurants and boutique hotels. We spent a lot of time
talking about Charleston today.
Steve Palmer is the man. And but Steve Palmer talks about how the restaurant industry saved his life twice. He wrote a book called Saying Grace. Say Grace, Saying Grace. Great book. He was from a tough childhood, and the only place he could get a job was a restaurant. Mm-hmm. And that was where he got his foundation for working and learning work ethic and working hard and all this kind of stuff. And then, he wound up at one point, it was, I believe it was Atlanta, where he was basically like homeless and strung out on drugs. And he cleaned himself up and got sober. And, the only industry that would take him was the restaurant industry. So he's like, 2 times in my life, it really saved me from bad circumstances. And so, and then he wound up starting a group called Ben's Friends, which is a support group for people in the restaurant industry that are dealing with substance abuse issues. Because he and Scott Crawford, who's up in Raleigh, and a couple other chefs were in Florence, Florence, South Carolina, great town.
Yeah.
They were opening one of Steve's restaurants years ago, probably 10 years ago at this point, maybe even a little longer. But it was 4 sober chefs, and they were all down there working together to get this place going. But they didn't know that one of the guys had relapsed. And he felt so much guilt and shame that he had relapsed, and he's here with these guys who are all sober, and he didn't want them to know, and he felt bad about it, and he was back on the bottle or whatever it was. He took his own life in a hotel room one day while they were doing that. And Steve and this partner of his, Mickey, down there in Charleston, that they were friends and chefs, and they're like, this has got to stop. There's just too many people that we know that have substance abuse issues, and some of them that's led to them committing suicide. This has got to stop. What can we do? So they started Ben's Friends, and I huge shout out for Ben's Friends. There are chapters popping up all over the country. It's grown. It's a great place because there has been that stigma with the industry, and there are a lot of people. So long it was like so work hard, play hard that you had a lot of that. Maybe it's moving in the right direction, but that was a big thing.
Well, I think that's a really, for lack of a better word, awesome idea. And I'm so happy to hear about that and see it take off, because I'll say this, and this is where my brain went, is the industry has that stigma. We've all, been there. We all read Kitchen Confidential, I think, and we understand. But I'll also say this, and what's really poignant about Ben's Friends is it's also an industry that's full of the best people. And you hear that over and over again. And people say, like, what's the best part of working here or working there? Or what's the best part of what you did? It's the people always. So it's an industry that does work hard, sometimes does play hard, but full of people that genuinely care about each other and from all walks of life, right? That's a cool thing about restaurants. Is
freaking incredible thing about restaurants.
It's just talk about a picture of diversity in business, at least in the restaurants I've always been a part of. And all those people connect and bond and come together and work hard with a common goal of sharing, serving these guests and creating experiences. And that, so it's very fitting in my opinion, and very cool to hear about.
I know that some of my buddies they'll laugh at me and they'll say I'm being corny and cheesy right here, but I'll say it. I really believe this. I truly believe this. There is no industry. It's like the really the true center of the American dream when you think about being able to start a business in this country and bring people together. If we're a melting pot from literally every walk of life, like there's no industry where there's that much diversity as a restaurant industry. Age, race, ethnicity, like whatever your background, economic background. Oh, you've been in prison 3 times, but you're clean now and you're willing to work hard. Cool, let's go. Yeah. Like what other industry does that? I mean, it's why Steve wrote that book. It saved his life twice. Like what other industry? Nobody would have him, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you've been homeless and strung out. I'm sorry, like you're not the right fit. Restaurant, you willing to work hard? You're going to be a good teammate? You're going to take care of our guests? We'll give you a shot.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I truly believe that. I think it's incredible. I think everybody should have to work in a restaurant. Like, I'm not big for like government oversight and intervention, and I'm glad we don't have to have military service. But it's like if we had to have restaurant, like 1 year in a restaurant would do a lot of good for a lot of people because it helps you get off your ego. It helps you learn to serve people. It helps you learn to do all these different things at once in a fast-paced environment and operate without a lot of stress and keep your cool and, leave your challenges aside and take care and try to make somebody smile who looks like they're having a bad day and deal with this person who's 25 years older than me and this person who's, is on the total opposite side of the political divide or whatever it is. But like, we're going to come together and work hard. And like, what else does that? What other industry?
It's advice you hear a lot, and there's a good reason for it, right? I mean, you hear it from almost every section of the business world. I hear people say, oh, I think everyone should work in restaurants for at least a little while. And a lot of people who are very successful, executive leaders or CEOs or founders today started out in restaurants, and I hear them say that all the time. I think everyone should work in a restaurant.
So we're going to weave back to what I was going to say about that podcast that Steve does, and I highly recommend his podcast, Say Grace. And then we're going to get to weave it all the way back to AccessWave. So I was saying that Robbie and Everybody Studios produce Steve's podcast. They travel down to Charleston and they film it. There's just I don't know if it's in one of the restaurants or whatever, but Robbie told me just like a couple weeks ago that Steve had just had Will Gadara on his podcast. And I said, what's he really like? Because, sometimes you these people that like, what are they really like? He's like, dude, he is the nicest, most genuine, present, authentic person. Like, he's exactly what you would hope he is.
I think he has to be. I think you could tell. If you've ever watched him, listen to him speak, or read his book, it'd be the greatest con of all time.
It would, but you just never know. I assumed that was the case. I was just like, what's he really like? And he's like, dude, it's phenomenal. So
it's awesome to have it validated, right? It's awesome to have it validated. Yeah.
So, and that was I was leading to is that I wanted to talk to you about how you've brought all of your years of hospitality and service and that mentality to AccessWave and talk about your transition to AccessWave and what is AccessWave. And, that's what really kind of got us like really reconnected, fairly recently.
Yeah, for sure. So a quick flash forward, we left off at Serafina, and that was, I'm so grateful for that opportunity. It was a wonderful 3 years of being COO/CFO there. And again, working with Fabio and Vittorio, who I really enjoyed, admired, really adored my time with. But it came 3 years later where I decided it was time for me to resign because I decided I wanted to go open restaurants again. I had a break and I just missed it, frankly. And I said,
well, plus you were talking about not going back to New York. Now you were going to Upper East Side.
I was going all over the place. So it's combined with, this is my second attempt to exit the city.
Right, I got you. Okay.
So combined with, hey, wonderful 3 years. I definitely want to go do this again. I think, had the itch, obviously in my blood, very passionate about it. And also I'd like to go do it down where I'm raising my family in the Jersey Shore region. And so I was just kind of passionate about really reconnecting to a community and where I was. So that was the plan. And, in the process of that, I met, AccessWave's founder, Bill Williams. And we became good friends. We met at an event. We just became friends. We started talking about business. We fished together. We both like fishing. And in the process of becoming friends, he said, hey, I'd like to be, sort of your finance partner in this, if you're willing to have me, and let's go do this together. And, I said, absolutely. So we started talking, we started looking at restaurants, and, in that time, AccessWave, which was essentially just an unbelievable community, member community of owners, founders, executives from all different verticals. AccessWave switched to providing commercial insurance and employee benefits and personal insurance for a lot of their members. And that's how they started to sort of build their business and monetize, amongst other things. And it just really took off. And we were sort of pretty far along on a couple of restaurant spaces when Bill came to me and said, hey, I know this is crazy, but what do you think about putting a pin in the restaurants and coming to be the CFO of AccessWave and building this with me full time as part of the team? And we had to talk about that because I said, that sounds awesome, but restaurants is really in my blood. It's what I care about. This is what I'm passionate about. Do you see a way that I continue to work with that? And he said, yeah, what I would like you to do is come and build a solution in that vertical, however you think is best. And that really intrigued me because I know as an operator, as a CFO, commercial insurance, employee benefits was always a pain point for me, and dealing with brokers was a pain point for me. So I saw this incredible opportunity to go build an engaged community specifically for restaurants, and solve for commercial insurance and employee benefits in a way that no one else was doing in the industry, by someone who was an operator, who sat in their seat for 20 plus years, and could add a lot of value and differentiation that wasn't currently out there in the market as far as insurance goes. So it's been a great journey. I haven't regretted that for one day. You and I reconnected around it. It's gone way better than I thought it would. Not that I didn't think it would succeed. It's just gone way quicker than I thought it would.
Yeah.
As far as, onboarding new clients, solving for them, partnering with them, and helping them succeed. And that's really where we differentiate. Is this is not just, AccessWave is not just an insurance broker. We want to be a genuine partner, especially in the restaurant space, which is the vertical that I lead. We want to be a genuine partner to independent business owners, small businesses, to help them solve, but also to help them grow their business and to help them relieve pain points, friction points in their business. So however we can help, we're a genuine partner. We want to see them succeed. And it's been a blast. And I can't believe some of the people we've already started working with and signed up. It's been sort of too good to believe for me. It's been a treat. But I'm just along for the ride now. I mean, it's been really fun.
So AccessWave, commercial insurance, employee benefits for restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
And
personal insurance too. But to be honest, we do that mostly for founders. When we have their commercial insurance, a lot of times it's just most convenient and cost
Personal
effective.
being what, like life insurance?
Yeah, home. Not so. We could do life, but mostly it's home, auto. Life certainly can be an aspect of that, but that's usually something we would do for founders and owners whose businesses that we're working with, in order to make it cost effective, convenient. Yeah.
Okay. So, but you have a unique. Tell me what's different. I know, but tell me so there are lots of insurance brokers out there. There's probably some that have restaurant focuses. I don't know. I mean, but tell me.
Yeah, well, I do think that's a differentiator. I think if you work with the with any of the monster insurance brokerages that exist out there, they'll probably have a person or a department that they say is dedicated to restaurants. But at AccessWave, we legitimately focus on only that inside of my vertical. And so that's a differentiator. I don't think you're going to work with a lot of other people who were operators, who were owners and small business owners. So, we're solving for that from a standpoint of people who have been in that seat. So we work very specifically to create solutions with our carrier partners, wholesaler partners, to create programs specifically for restaurants. And in that way, we hope to be able to beat price, and we hope to be able to get you the best coverage and things like that. And the main differentiator, though, is that you're getting a genuine partner and a genuine relationship. We talked about in person and, picking up the phone. Everyone in the restaurant has my cell phone number, every one of our clients. And I just want to be, like I said, a genuine partner in their success. And we also, have the ability to use this common network. We talk a lot about rising tides, raising all ships, right?
Right.
And I want to take this community and use it to everyone's benefit. So whether we use our community to make connections and help solve pain points, like I said before, or entertain new greenfield spend or brownfield spend, we can do that by using our community. So there's a few differentiators there. And I think out of respect for everyone listening, I won't go into details on insurance because they'll put them to sleep.
No. I got you. Okay. I will look, I'm not I just recently found I didn't know what ICP meant. That's why I said it. I was like, ideal customer pro. What is greenfield spend and brownfield spend? What does that mean?
So greenfield spend would be a new spend for your budget, right? Okay. Like let's say you've decided, hey, we hadn't spent on a loyalty program before, but we're at 5 units now and we need to consider loyalty programs. Okay. That would be a greenfield spend, right? So now we as AccessWave, in a differentiator, you might be able to call me and I might say, hey, I'm friends with or work with 3 really great loyalty programs, and here's the one I recommend. And, let me make a warm introduction for you, just as a place to solve a pain point, And so that's the way we want to genuinely partner and help. A brownfield spend would be something where you're redirecting a budget spend. Like, let's say this will be a shameless plug if you're ready for it, but let's say you were on X schedule and now you're looking for a better solution. Then that might be a place where you're redirecting a budget or looking to change.
Actually, if you're on X schedule, it would be brown and green because you're going to be saving money, and then you have got more green to spend.
I've spun you. I've wound you up and turned you loose.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there it is. I mean, see, that's it, man.
Yeah, and the last thing we touched on it before, but I really want to, like, this space is a space where hospitality doesn't typically exist.
Exactly.
Right. And so I really want to take my 25-year career of doing what I really love and am passionate about and bringing that sense of service-mindedness and guest-centric thought process and hospitality to this industry, which is something you're not really normally going to see. But when you call me, I hope you feel like you're being, you're calling, to talk to your insurance expert or business partner, and you're being treated the way an owner would treat you if you were a guest in his restaurant.
That's it. This is what that all led to, right? And that's the unreasonable hospitality that we don't get, sometimes in hospitality, but certainly in most industries.
Yeah.
And you're taking that and deploying it into an industry that you don't normally think of that terminology with.
That's right. And I'm really lucky and grateful because this entire team of people at AccessWave has just holistically embraced that, and been enthusiastic about embracing it.
Yeah.
When I say, hey, hey, little changes like, hey, I don't want to refer to people as clients, right? I want to refer to them as our partners or our guests or, whatever we want to refer to them as. Clients is something I want to leave in the past, right? Yeah. And it happens, it slips, it's what it is in the industry, but it's just like little mentality shifts like that. They've just fully embraced, and I'm grateful for the team. We have a team of people on the insurance side whose family owns 3 restaurants in New Jersey. One of my teammates, another teammate whose family owns one of the largest private country clubs and golf clubs in New Jersey. So really lucky to get a team of people who are hospitality minded. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's so many people some that we talked about earlier, and others I'm thinking of that I want to connect you with, because over all these years of doing both Schedulefly and this podcast, we've gotten to meet so many people that provide other services that solve for other pain points in this industry that we trust. We readily recommend to our customers, because there are, I think of, when you look at, it's been a while since I've seen one of these, so it's probably harder to read now, but they have this hub and spoke diagram of restaurant tech.
Oh, yes.
So there's every spoke, from whether it's some employee management to food costs to POS to whatever, and within each of those little sections on the wheel, there's the logos are so tiny now you can't see them because there's so many providers, right, for any problem that you have to solve or any pain point. I always thought, how do you do that as a restaurant owner? Okay, so I have to solve for this problem. I don't know, payroll, whatever. Well, there's 50, where do you even start? So what we've tried to do is vet and get to know providers that, provide other services that solve other pain points that we do, that when we talk to our customers, it's like I told you, I had a conversation with a customer yesterday, a big restaurant group. And, I said, what's your biggest pain point right now? Is it food costs? Is it labor costs, butts and seats? She said butts and seats, instantly. I was like, cool. Nicholas Wicks, here comes your plug, man. I said, Nicholas Wicks, check this out. Have you ever heard of check this out? No, I haven't. Say, well, here's what they do. Do you want to talk to them? I absolutely want to talk to them. Boom. Versus, how do we get butts and seats? I don't know. Let's go start researching this and see if we can figure it out. And there's, you call your other restaurant people and stuff like that, and word of mouth.
Yeah.
But I think that there's there's something inherently valuable about trying to help your customers solve for problems that you can't solve, but that you know somebody that can solve. That's huge value to that relationship, and that's what creates those. It's not that you're doing it keeping their business. It's that you're doing it because you're trying to help them, but because you're helping them solve other problems, then they just become more loyal and happier with you. We've experienced that over and over.
Yeah, well, look, we both know, you and I, because we're old friends, we both genuinely care about what we're doing.
Yeah,
so
right.
So from that standpoint, we just want to help solve problems, right?
Yeah.
There's the duplicitous added benefit of you're strengthening the business of one of your customers or partners.
Yeah.
Which is obviously good for everybody,
It's good
right?
for everybody,
But
for sure.
you're sort of spot on. You've hit the nail on the head of what we and you, I know we share this value, what we hope community does. That's what I hope the added value of AccessWave is you asked, how do you solve for that? Well, I could tell you how I used to solve for that, and it was going to the internet, which good luck, and then going to like FS Tech, which is a great conference, but my God.
Right.
If you've
like,
walked
again,
through there lately. Yeah.
Okay.
Here's
sure,
100 options. Which one do you like?
Talk to 20 people that solve the same problem. How do I know which one is?
And so where I ended up, and we talked about this briefly earlier, is I would always go to people that I admired and that I trusted and ask them first. It was always my first thing. Hey, what do you do for this? What have you seen that you like for this? How do you currently solve this? And having a great community like AccessWave, like Schedulefly, allows us to do that like in a really expedited way at scale, and then give that benefit back to our customers and partners. So,
yeah. You have 4 kids.
That's right. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about, and I suspect this might have had something to do with when you sold, but talk about the balance, if there is any, of running restaurants and having a family and being able to be present for both.
Well, I could start with 2 things that are easy. I wish I were present for a lot more. And you realize that quickly as they get older. You and I have kids that are around the same ages.
Yeah.
So we both realize how quickly that time goes.
Yeah.
And every single new dad or younger guy that I talk to, I just beat the hell out of that point home. I'm like, hey man, it goes way faster than you think it's going to go.
Like that.
So it's kind of a paradox. I know you can't feel it right now, but just try to slow down and sort of enjoy all of the crazy moments. So it goes really fast, but I wish I was there more. I wasn't there as much as I would like to be. I'm still not, right? But we also have to provide and have to be a leader for our families. But I will start off by saying this. I do have 4 kids. Thank you for mentioning that. You know me well, so you know that this is the reason for everything that I do. So Madison, Michael, Mason, and McKenna are my 4 kids. And I would not be able to do it at all if it weren't for my incredible wife, Dina. So I'm going to give her a shout out here. Shameless plug. Maybe I get some brownie points
there
at home.
You go, man.
But in truth, Dina and I met in the restaurant industry. We met at Planet Hollywood. So another hidden benefit of restaurants, certainly responsible for a lot of marriages in the United States. Right. And abroad. No, but Dina and I met at work, and I've been incredibly lucky that Dee has been able to stay home a good bit and be a stay-at-home mom and raise 4 kids, and all the times that I go out and do all this work. And frankly, at other times in my career, sometimes 60, 70, 80-hour weeks, at different points in your career, you do what you got to do, and you're trying to get ahead. So, it's a little bit better now. But in fairness, we're also building AccessWave and very dedicated to that business. But hey, it's important, right? I'm lucky to work at AccessWave. We're all, myself, Bill, Anthony, even Andrew, we're all family men. So, we all have some shared values around, we work really hard, but if you need to be there for your family, you go home and be there for your family. Don't miss anything important, and be there for the ball games and the dances and the things you don't get another chance to do. So, I'd say try really hard to work in an environment like that. And it's okay to work hard, but try not to miss too much because it goes really fast.
You know, they say long days, short years, right?
It's really true.
So true. I mean,
It's
you're in the
really
middle of it,
true.
you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. This is a lot. And then you just go,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Now I'm dropping them off at college. You don't even like it just like that.
Goes really fast. Suddenly they're 14, 15. They really barely see them because they want to be with their friends. And it happens fast. You know,
it does. My son just got his license and his car. And he's the last one, man.
But I have to say, I don't want to give the wrong impression. I've got great kids and they're awesome, and I'm really grateful for them, and I mean that, and for Dina. So I'm lucky.
Well, I hope that you guys were earlier you were talking to your bride on the phone and talking about, South Carolina, and we want to recruit you down here, man. We need a wonderful family like that down here. So, those listening, I was trying to sell Keith on, if he's looking at the Carolinas, Fort Mill, Rock Hill, Greenville's another good place. I tell you, man, Greenville, South Carolina is phenomenal. I mean, put that on your list.
We'll check it out.
If you go visit Greenville, you will be like, how do we move here? I guarantee it.
Well, I'll take Dina down there because
her to Greenville.
I need her on board.
Take her to Greenville, and when you go, seriously, if you do, don't forget to call me, because there's a group down there called named Table 301 Restaurant Group. I've had Carl Sobosinski is the owner, and he is he is on my personal Mount Rushmore for restaurant owners. That episode, it's from like May, June of 2023, like about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
All right. It's on the list.
Amazing. But the restaurants here are great. Hall's Chop House, which I mentioned.
Yeah.
Just had those guys on. We'll be posting that soon. They got a location up there. I mean, I forgive me for those of you that I miss. I mean, there's a lot of great restaurants, vibrant city, got this beautiful river running through it, just a great climate, right tucked like just down outside of the mountains, so easy access up to the mountains, just a couple, 2-3 hours down the road to Charleston, like cool place. So
sounds great. I'm on board. And by the way, this came up because I do a lot of traveling around for my son's baseball. And baseball took us to Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
And then we just sort of really enjoyed Myrtle Beach. And so then we came back with the whole family for a vacation and then visited Charleston. And that's how all this came up. I said, now we're considering maybe we need to move to the Carolinas. And then it sort of followed up by me saying how much I enjoyed Charlotte today and how nice I thought it was. So,
well, I'm really grateful that you took the time and, I mean, again, like another away from your crew back at home to come down here and be on the podcast. I mean, we can do this stuff via Zoom, and I appreciate you coming down here and doing this and having this conversation. So look, you guys are very good and very focused on helping independent restaurants. This isn't something nothing wrong with chain, but you're not serving big chain. You're serving people with 1, 5, 10, 15, 20 locations, and with commercial insurance, employee benefits. So if
the whole gamut.
If people are saying, well, that's kind of a pain point for me, this is interesting.
Or mine's been going up every year.
Mine keeps
I need
going
to shop
up.
it.
I need to look around.
Yeah. Or I'd like to work with someone.
Where do they find you?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the AccessWave.com is the website, but honestly, we get very little traffic through the website. They could reach out to you. They could reach out to me. My email is keith@theaccesswave.com, KEITH @theaccesswave.com. I think my cell phone might also be on our website, to be honest with you. So feel free. I might have you beat there. So feel free to look us up and give me a ring. We write in all 50 states. Obviously a large percent of our partners are in the tri-state area because that's where we are, and we talked about how much we like to be in person. But we actually do have clients all over the nation, which we're blessed to have been growing at that speed. And we'd love to talk to anybody that is looking for help, questions, assistance. I'm happy to talk to anybody about it. And I love just talking to restaurant operators anyway. So give me that. We can get on the phone and an hour goes by. And so I could do that with anybody and would love to talk. And I appreciate you for having me back down And of course, I wanted to come in person. It's been a while since we hung out. So thanks for having me down. It was great to see Charlotte, and great to be on the podcast again. As I said before, I'm a fan and a listener, so I'm happy to be on it again.
And a very valuable added guest and contributor. So thank you all if you're watching, since we're filming this one. If you're listening, we appreciate you. We would love a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. The more of these ratings we get, the more these algorithms put this in front of people that are looking for content like this. So if you like it, just take 2 seconds, pop that 5 stars, and more people will hear it. If you want, Keith told you how to get in touch with him. If you want to get in touch with me, as you know, you can find my cell phone number right there on Schedulefly's website, schedulefly.com. Y'all are awesome. We appreciate you. We thank you for watching. We thank you for listening. More episodes coming soon. That is a wrap. See ya.